Hello guys, welcome to Jack Talks TCGs, the channel where you get a new player's perspective on everything Magic and other card games in general. Today we're going to be discussing my journey into Commander. I wanted to make this video for all those that are thinking about maybe picking up Commander, or maybe are still on the fence and would like to know a little bit more before they make their first financial investment. So without further ado, sit down, get a kettle on, make a nice brew, and we will get started. Now, I'm going to assume that everyone watching this video has at least a basic understanding of what Commander is, so we're not going to be going into rules or anything like that. If you do want that sort of stuff, there are plenty of great videos on YouTube for you to get that information from. What I want to talk about is my personal experience with Commander. Coming from a player that took a huge break from TCGs and then giving in, we shall say, to the urge to play with a nice big full-sleeved deck, cracking packs, and absolutely dominating my enemies on the tabletop. So how did it all start? Well, it started with a phone call to my cousin and my sister, who are two people that I used to play card games with back in the day. So I had a pretty good idea that they would probably be feeling the same way as me, where they had this urge to get back into card games but didn't really know where to start. So I pitched the idea to start in Commander together, and they did not take much convincing at all. Now, I'm aware that having people in my life already that share the same passions and hobbies as I do is a huge privilege, not one that everyone has. If you do have people already in your life that share those things with you, then it's going to make transitioning into the world of card games and stuff a lot easier. And if you don't, there is still the option of going to your local game store, and in some ways it's actually a better option because you get to make new friends, you'll probably be around more people, and you're supporting your local community, which is a great thing. Something that I am yet to do, but I do very much intend on grabbing my playgroup and us all getting down there so we can make new friends and expand our little community of players. So yeah, there is options out there, do not worry. So after we'd all decided to take the leap, our next step was to get our decks. Now, for those that don't know, Wizards make pre-cons, which are pre-constructed decks. After 5 minutes of research, you will realize that there is a huge amount of choices to choose from. So many different decks. I believe Wizards bring out 2 to 4 new Commander decks every 3 months or so. So there's just so much to choose from, and a lot of them are relevant. It's not like if you buy one from 2 years ago that it's not going to be able to compete. That's not the case at all. There are better ones and worse ones. There's plenty of content out there for that sort of stuff if you're interested, but there is just generally so much to choose from. So in the end, I went with the Ahoy Mateys Precon, the deck that Jimmy piloted on the Command Zone. That's kind of what gave me the inspiration to buy it. It looked like a lot of fun, and it was nice and cheap as well. In UK, it was about £30, I think I bought it for, which is a no-brainer for your first deck, especially when you're just getting into the hobby, because you don't know if it's going to work out, if you're going to enjoy it or not. So I didn't want to make this huge plunge and spend loads of money right out the gate just in case. So that deck was absolutely perfect for me, and I've been really enjoying it. So after we bought our first few pre-cons, we all got together and played our first game. Now, I will say that if you've never played Magic the Gathering before, it's quite a complex game. Meaning, on your first game, expect to be spending a lot of time Googling stuff, trying to work out what happens with different rules and interactions. In our first game, we spent I think it took us about 5 hours, which is not your typical length of time for a Commander game. Usually 1 to 2 hours in our experience. But yeah, that first game was quite a slugfest. But just know that not every game is going to last that long. So yeah, but still have about 1 to 2 hours put aside. So fast forwarding 4 months ahead brings us to the present day. we are still playing every week, and our enthusiasm for the game just continues to grow week after week after week. The more you learn your deck, the more you make your own personal edits, even maybe constructing your own brand new decks, your love for the game, from my experience, will just continue to expand. We are absolutely loving it. One of the things that we really love about the format is that it's a multiple player format, which is so unique compared to other card games that we've played in the past. It's never been something that we've experienced like it. It's very similar to like a board game feel, which means that it's just a bundle of laughs, like constant laughter and so much banter, which all of us Brits love, let's be honest. Another thing that the multiple player format adds to the game is stuff like politics, which is just something you'll never find in a 1v1 scenario. So you can be like, oh, I won't attack you if you help me kill this person, or stuff like that, which is just, it's just so funny. It just creates so much opportunity for unique gameplay. So yeah, that's another thing that I really love about the game. Another thing that makes Commander like quite unique is that the primary objective of the game is to have fun. Now, I know what you're thinking, isn't that the point of every card game? The reality is, a lot of the time, from my personal experience, once you start getting quite into card games, the competitive side tends to take over. If you go to local events and stuff, you're gonna run into people that are just running the most competitive decks, and you rather play the meta, build a deck to play against the meta, or you just lose. That's never been very fun for me, unless there's quite a diverse competitive meta. Which is not the case for a lot of games. It can just make things very dull and kills creativity and stuff like that. But because of the nature of the game, Commander's not like that at all. There's literally endless possibilities of decks that you can build because the primary objective is just to have fun. So it's been a lot of fun, especially in my play group where we all have very similar power level decks because we're all playing with like edited precons. It's every game feels very competitive, which is a huge thing for my personal taste in games. So those are some of the things that I like about the game, but what are some things I don't like about the game? I've already touched on this already, but one of the largest barriers to entry for Magic in general is its complicated rules. I mean, I thought I had a pretty good grasp on card games and stuff, but I can tell you right now, like, Magic has me Googling something probably at least once a game. At the start, it was every 5 minutes. I'd be like, wait, but what if that happens and then this and that, and does that effect still go off and yada, yada, yada. It's really complicated, and I had to spend quite a lot of time researching stuff. And I know from watching other videos that even experienced players say that they're still learning to this day. Yeah, it's a complex game, but you could say it's a detriment, but it's something that I like about the game. It's very stimulating for my brain, and just I find I enjoy the challenge. But if you're new to card games, then I'd say Magic could be very daunting. So just bear that in mind. Because the multiple player format of Commander as well, there are even more things going on at once. So you're not just keep tracking of one opponent's thing, you're keeping track of 2 to 3 different opponents' boards, which can be quite overwhelming. Luckily, Magic the Gathering has some really good like starter decks. Like a product I recommend if you like Lord of the Rings is the Lord of the Rings starter set, 2-player starter set. This is really good for just like learning the rules of the game, if you've never played Magic. Luckily, I'd already played a little bit of Magic before, so I kind of already knew how the game played. You can also play on Arena, which will give you a really good understanding of the game as well, and it doesn't require you to spend any money, which is always quite nice. Now, another issue I'm going to address with Commander is something that has not come up in my play group, but it is something that does exist, and that is like really stupid, broken combos that, in my opinion, I think it's quite obvious that it was never designed by the creators to be a thing. But because the nature of Commander, where you can use cards all from Magic's history, going back, I think Magic is like, I think it started in like 1993. I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. But I'm pretty sure the game is older than I am. So that could definitely ruin your day if you have someone that just has built this deck just to rail your precon into the dirt and not even let you get to turn 5. Players have seemed to come up with a unwritten rule called Rule Zero, where you're supposed to discuss power levels of each other's decks before you play to make sure that you have a fun and competitive game. As I said, this hasn't been a problem with my playgroup. We're all playing with precons. It's all really good fun. But it's an issue to be aware of if you're going to be playing outside of maybe that little playgroup, going to local events and stuff like that. So just be mindful. And if you do enjoy that sort of stuff, there is a separate format which is like competitive Commander that you can dabble in. Not something I've dabbled in, doesn't really interest me. But if you like that sort of thing, then it's there. So to sum up, should you start playing Magic Commander? Well, in my opinion, if, like me, you are a returning player and you've played TCGs before, I think Commander is a fantastic way to get back into the hobby, just because it's just so fun. I can't really emphasize much more than that. It's so much fun. And if you are experienced with other TCGs, you'll probably be fine with the rules, and probably like me, you might find it quite fun, the challenge of it. If you're brand new to card games, you've never touched a card game before, I still wouldn't say Commander is not for you. Just be mindful that you might have a little bit of a hurdle to get over initially, but I'm sure you'll be absolutely fine. If not, there are other great card games out there. Another thing, if you're looking for a really fast-paced game, like we're talking 10-15 minutes, Commander is not going to be the game for you. Minimum, it's probably going to take about an hour. So it is really one of those things where you're sitting down with a group of friends and you're in it for the long haul. So if that's not your thing, then maybe Commander is not the game for you. Luckily, Magic does have other formats like 1v1 stuff that the games are much faster paced. In general, Magic is still a slower paced game than other card games. So if you still want something really fast paced, then you'll be looking at other games. But I'm not going to go touch on that now. But yeah, something to be mindful of. So that wraps up my thoughts on Commander. If you enjoyed this video and found it useful, please let me know in the comments below. Tell me. I want to know all your stories. I want to know if you've just recently started playing Commander, or if you're thinking about it and this video has helped you make a choice. What precons are you thinking about? I want to know. Other than that, guys, I will see you in the next video. I hope you have a lovely day. Thank you for tuning in. Cheers.